get on here because then and he's awesome, dude. Katie's so awesome, such a nice dude.
Yeah.
He really is. You just need kind of grains of salt, though.
I was
So
gonna I was gonna say, is he like I was gonna say, like, does he run on like drug dealer time or something?
it's like Mike. The best way I could say it is like Mike said. It's like this cosmic. It's a different energy type.
I would
Like
say no to the drug dealer time because the drug dealer is going to connect with you later that night at some point. KD may not connect with you until whenever.
October.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more cosmic. It's just not that's not in the same, a day could be a month.
So it's like you can expect that the weed guy will show up eventually, but you can't guarantee it with him.
So
Well,
tonight,
no, eventually is just like a month or two instead of an hour or two.
right before we all got on tonight, I called him. I called him this morning, and I was like, we're gonna hook up on Zoom. He's like, okay, I'm good. So I called him tonight right before we got on. Said we're gonna send you the email. You ready? He's like, yeah. You saw what I went through giving Mike the email address. Mike sent him the email. He didn't get on. So the second time for the second email, I called him again after we had already talked, and he's like, yo, I'm sorry. I got caught up watching a documentary on James Baldwin. I saw your email. Yeah, James Baldwin documentary. So he's like, I'll, send me the next one. So Mike sent him the next one, and he's not here.
That's infuriating to me.
I mean, I'm used to it.
Yeah,
so,
I'm used to it. That's why I started off like not being, that's why like that whole thing about like having his email was not like an immediate, it wasn't like a thing of urgency.
It wasn't
like,
urgent.
Yeah,
it's why it's why it's why I've had to give the email to him like 5 times.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't have it. He probably doesn't have it now.
Well, no, I put it in my phone.
Oh.
So no, that's why I asked for Katie's phone number. But
what's his email?
Its clue is klewis@gmail.com, which I did not get when I was verbally told, because it's kind of like clue is clue. So at first I just had K Lewis because I thought that's what he meant by clue is, as in K Lewis, which is why I wanted it in writing.
That's what I would have thought too. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's better in writing.
And again, I've spelled it for you on 5 different occasions. I'm just saying.
Well, today is a new day. If the other 4 ones, had stuck, then we wouldn't be here. But here we are.
That's my complaint.
Well,
listen, Kelsey is hard to be responsible for. You know this. I only want to give the email out like 1 time. He's hard. He's not easy to. And again, a great guy. Kelsey's just hard to. He's hard to be responsible for. He's a gentle giant. He's like what, 6 feet, like 100.
100 pounds at 6 feet?
No, I was kind of joking when I said 6 feet 100. Like he's 6 feet. He's 6 feet a lot.
Oh.
Like I don't know how many inches above 6 feet he is.
So the point is,
but
he's tall.
Yeah, he's tall.
How tall? 6'5", 6'6", 6'10"?
Larger than 6'5", I would say.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's huge.
Yeah, he's tall.
Is he
tall
strong
enough to be in the
too?
NBA?
He's at least 6'6".
That's like Michael Jordan's height.
What, 6'6"?
Yeah. Isn't he 6'6", or is he 6'8"? No, he's 6'6".
Yeah, 6'6". KD is tall. Yeah, he's a tall guy.
Is he strong?
Yeah, I think KD's pretty strong.
You're asking a lot of questions, Cynthia.
You don't come across a lot of people who are 6'6".
Yeah, KD's
LeBron
pretty
James?
strong.
Yeah, I talk to him all the time, Emily.
Like he's not
Okay,
like
fair
6'6".
enough.
he's not like 6'6", 300 pounds. You know what I mean? He's
Oh.
he's 6'6", like I
He's
would
not
say
300 pounds of muscle, is what you're saying.
no, I would say I wouldn't say he's in the athletic shape of a basketball player, but he certainly has the build of a basketball player. Like he's not overweight. You know what I mean? He's not. He's just what I would imagine a healthy 6'6" person would look like.
Okay. I have no idea how much they would weigh.
Fair enough.
LeBron James is 6'6". I thought he
Yeah,
was like 6'8".
Yeah,
Well, he
LeBron
might be
James is
6'8".
like super athletic.
6'6" is like starting to get into NBA player territory, though.
Not necessarily. Bugsy was like 5'3".
Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
like
I mean that was rare,
a
but
special
definitely
exception.
depending on the position you play.
Him and Spud Webb were like special exceptions, and Allen Iverson,
Yeah.
like they were super
Is
good.
Allen short?
Well, Allen's small. Like he's
compared to
really
everybody else.
he's like 150 pounds, 56 pounds, something like that.
Wow, that is small
Yeah,
for an NBA player.
For an
Holy
NBA
shit,
player.
I'm surprised he wasn't knocked down. Hold on, I have to Google him. Allen
Well,
Iverson.
Well, he's
that was the thing.
fast.
That was the thing about Allen
Incredible.
Iverson. He was faster than everybody, but he was also like a target for fouls because of his size.
Oh, I remember Allen. It's been so long since I've seen his face.
Well, he hasn't played in over 10 years.
Yeah, but
Yeah, AI.
Oh. I feel like his career wasn't that. He didn't really have a long career.
He didn't because of his size.
Oh, really?
Because it took its toll on him. He was
Just like getting knocked around, you mean?
Yeah, he was kind of getting beat up by bigger players. He was better than everybody, but he, they.
Oh my God, he was 6 feet tall.
They fouled him.
That is short for a basketball player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
tall. Like, 6 feet, like, quite frankly, is tall to me, but that's
Yeah.
because I'm 5'2".
Yeah,
Mhm.
short. 6 feet is short for a basketball player.
I wonder what he's up to now.
Not playing basketball.
Practice.
Personal life. Is he married? Does he have kids?
Boy, you're nosy about Allen Iverson.
Oh, he got divorced in 2010.
Yeah, he had the big domestic deal where they try to call it terrorism.
What?
Terrorism?
Yeah, it didn't stick, but that was what they were trying to say.
For the reason of divorce?
No, he had gotten to like a domestic situation with his wife,
Uh-huh.
and it was, terrorism was like the thing, and at the time it wasn't defined, so they tried to use it against him, which it didn't stick. It didn't even last like a day, but that was what they were trying to say. I remember
That he was
that.
a terrorist? I don't get it.
That's madness.
Yeah, nobody got it, which is why it didn't stick. It was just something that he had a domestic situation, and they were, throwing the word terrorism around. But at that time period, that was in that, well, I mean, it still hasn't been clearly defined, but that was in that area or that gap in, the Patriot Act and Barack Obama being president and conservatives wanting Barack to define what terrorism is, like to actually define it. Because, the Patriot Act has like a whole bunch of unclear provisions regarding terrorism. And like, we kind of need to know, like, what is the definition so that people aren't treated, shady because of it. Like, are you just going to be calling everyone a terrorist because they get in an argument with, their significant other? And, what are the parameters for what's terrorism? I mean, we understand, we all have a concept of terrorism, but there has to be like a legal, clear definition. This is a terrorist. This is a domestic terrorist.
Did you ever find out if the KKK is legally?
Well, they're demonstrating.
Classified?
I just saw an article that they're demonstrating in I don't know why I can't think of the place. It's the same city as, well, it has the same name as the city of New York State, like Lockport or Lewiston or something like that. But they're
Oh, those are
demonstrating,
okay.
and they're demonstrating in full garb.
Oh, like
Jesus.
this is near Buffalo.
No, it's the city it shares a name with the city of New York State, but it's
okay.
not in New York State. But yeah,
Okay.
they're about to do a demonstration. I just saw the article earlier today, and in the article
Like
they
their
were in
coats
their
and
full
pointy
garb.
hats.
Yeah, the whole garb.
Damn, that's
Yeah.
fucking crazy. It must south.
So I don't see them saying the police are going to be there to arrest them.
Yeah, the police probably won't be there to arrest them because the police probably support them because let's be real, a lot of them are assholes too.
Well, I just don't think, we had a question the other day if they're, Mike was saying that his understanding is that they're a terrorist group, and my thought was, I think the idea is that they're terrorists, but I don't think they're legally a terrorist group. You know what I mean? I don't think they're by law.
They're
Like
not
the law
classified
deems
as a
them.
terrorist
Right.
group, even though
Right.
by like most
They should
sane
be.
people's opinion, they should be.
I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
terrorize communities. I think they consider terrorists.
No
I mean,
argument.
by definition they are, but I don't know if by legal definition, because this was like a part of one of the bigger documentaries. It might have even been the Michael Moore documentary that came out years ago, and so Ish was talking about whether this was like just like a liberal standpoint or an actual, legal classification. Because I had thought that they were considered, like legally considered terrorists, but it seems like as I was
If they're considered terrorists, I don't think they'd be able to operate the way that they do so openly.
Right. And they can publicly demonstrate. They actually contribute.
what you're saying is like you're saying like Al Qaeda couldn't march, or like a group that was actually designated as terrorists couldn't perform a march or something, or whatever.
But
I don't
not
see it.
openly.
So it says historically the first Klan
Yeah, no.
used terrorism, both physical assault and murder against politically active blacks and their allies in the South in the late 1860s. So remember I told you that initially the first Klan I was telling you they were terrorist groups, but at this point there's so many different there's no it's not like, so the term Ku Klux Klan is like an umbrella corporation.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of little mini corporations under it that are KKK, but they each do their own thing.
So it's like
Right.
McDonald's with all the franchises.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe one wants to sell the Whopper, and maybe this week someone has like the Samurai Burger, but not all of them have it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not all the same. Obviously, the title is the umbrella, but they're not all the same order or same group.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them have all of the same ideals and principles. I mean, with the exception of racism.
I feel like
patriotism.
I feel like the the shared ideal is what joins them together.
Right. They're classified.
Yeah, I never knew that. I never knew that there were so many groups.
Can we buy a franchise of the KKK and try to operate and do whatever we want?
I don't think it works that way.
The third and most recent group emerged in the 1950s, and they're
Where?
classified. Say again.
Where?
It says the third and current manifestation of the KKK emerged after 1950 in the form of localized and isolated groups that use the KKK name. So you got localized and isolated groups. They're focused on opposition to the civil rights movement, often using violence and murder to suppress activists. It is classified as a hate group by the Anti-Defamation League.
Well, in the 50s, I feel like it wasn't outright illegal to lynch people, right? So they probably could use murder to.
No, it was illegal.
Whereas now it's.
It was illegal.
In the 50s?
Yeah,
They just did it anyway.
It just wasn't enforced.
Yeah, well,
because many of the cops
might as well be legal at that point. It's
right.
Just not enforced.
Well, many of the cops were wearing the sheets.
Yeah. So not explicitly leaked, but pretty much was. But whereas
Right.
now, I mean, now kind of going back to what it was. But yeah, I don't hear of any like KKK members using like murdering people. At least not explicitly.
Yeah, in most cases, they demonstrate and throw parties and do fundraisers in the community, and they do all this stuff that shady, smart people would do in order to like, entrench themselves in society for the purposes of whatever it is, shadiness they're trying to pull off. Like they, in a lot of cases, they demonstrate, they donate to like charities, they, have fundraisers, they do stuff like that.
Did you see the Spike Lee movie about the black man
And then
who infiltrated?
they try to undermine and murder people.
Did you see the Spike Lee movie about the black man who infiltrated the KKK?
White Klansman,
Yeah,
I did, or Black
Yeah.
Klansman, I did.
yeah, Black Klansman. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw them. I saw
A
the movie. I thought it was-
documentary or a movie?
No, it's a movie.
Movie.
Based
Movie.
loosely based on a true story. Loosely
Yeah.
based. Yeah.
Oh, I think I know that story. Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty good film.
Yeah, it was.
I want to infiltrate and see what the fuck is going on. That would be very interesting.
So the problem is, you probably have the same problem I'd have, and you're a woman.
They don't have women Klansmen?
No.
They're Klansmen, not Klanswomen, Cynthia.
Wow.
Well, no, you'd be able to infiltrate because I mean they were supported by women and like I mean maybe it was just I don't know, maybe it was just wives or
I can
something.
infiltrate by trying to assist one of them and getting in that way.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
No,
guess
I don't.
can't-
I don't think culturally you'd make the cut.
What the hell is that?
You'd have to be their secret.
I feel like I'm hearing a gunshot on the call.
Yeah,
Hey, are
it
you
was kind of.
okay? What are you showing us? I don't see anything.
That's because you missed it.
So, Mike, as
Yeah.
of 2016, researchers estimate that there are just over 30 active Klan groups with about 130 chapters.
Jesus Christ.
Today, many sources classify the Klan as a subversive or terrorist organization.
Many sources,
Right.
but not the
Not
U.S.
these
government.
sources. I'm looking here.
But even like if we don't think
So a campaign was
Ku Klux
declared
Klan, there's so many other organizations out there. Like
in
that are white
2004.
nationalists.
A professor at the University of Louisville began a campaign to have the Klan declared a terrorist organization in order to ban it from campus. Doesn't say whether that actually panned out.
Yeah, there's been a few times throughout history where
I'm
it's
sure
been-
people have made attempts.
Yeah.
Well, it states that the first group, originating in 1865, was a terrorist organization.
Not that they used terror, but that they were.
Yet that they were a terrorist organization, and then they went. It goes on to define.
How did they get declassified?
Well, because that was the first group. There was a second group in 1915, and then the third group manifested in 1950, which is the Klan of today, which is now 30 different offshoots.
But I feel like if you are an offshoot of an organization that's defined as a terrorist organization, you're a fucking terrorist organization.
I agree with you, but we also got to keep in mind that terrorist, by definition, in the 19th century was different than in the late 20th and 21st century, right?
I mean, even in the 21st century, looking at the definition, I think they can definitely be characterized as terrorists still.
No argument. I'm just making it clear that in 1865, they definitely would have had a different definition for terrorism.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when they first started, if they were recognized as a terrorist organization, how would the definition of terrorism become more lax with
No,
time?
no argument. But
Well, maybe it's because they're not, actively lynching people and all that stuff.
Not in
right,
public.
they're
Doesn't mean
not
they're
burning
doing it.
crosses on people's yards and that we know of,
Right.
Yeah.
and like leaving shallow graves like Mississippi burning style, hundreds of people in shallow graves and things like that. They can't
Yeah.
get away with it. And then you also look at like the late 20th, especially the 21st century. Let's just say the 21st century.
Mhm.
Like we are too smart for our own good, right? Politically. So then, and what I mean by that is like we trivialize what terrorism is. We, as laymen and laity, understand what it is,
Mhm.
but people want legal definitions because of jihadists and Muslims or what have you, like that type of terrorism. So people want, like, especially with the Patriot Act, like people want
Mm-hmm.
a legal definition, and a lot of times people look at terrorism as something, like what happened on 9/11, and
Right.
and only as that. You know
Well,
what I mean?
A lot of people don't see like domestic terrorism as terrorism, and that's where I think this comes into play. Like people aren't going to see, people don't tend to see like Americans as like committing acts of terrorism for the most part, unless it's something that goes against like their beliefs, like friggin' Trump with the Antifa.
Well, you're right, and you got a lot of right-wing conservatives. Now, I'm not a fan of Antifa's tactics outside of the United States. That I will say. I don't have a problem with what they do on America.
But what are they doing outside of the States?
They're
Well,
pretty violent.
yeah, they're really violent.
Is it violence against violence, or they're just violent for no reason?
Well, they're violent. So it's in my the way I define them. The activities outside of the United States, they might as well be a hate group. Like you can't lynch somebody because they're fascist if they haven't done anything that merits them being lynched. But you're just going to lynch them for their belief system. We believe.
Yeah, but what if their belief system is like Trump's belief system, and you're inciting fear and violence in other people, even though you're not physically doing the violence?
Okay, well that's
You know
that's a good point. But
Kill them. I don't care.
But see, then we become like our enemies, right? Like the one thing, and I don't know, you guys can disagree with me, but the one criticism I have, I often compare the extreme right. I mean extreme. I don't mean the furthest to the right. I mean as in extreme in principle.
Mhm.
I refer to them as hate mongers. But because I'm on the left and I'm critical of the people that I ally myself with because we want to be altruistic, at least I do, then I consider the extreme, not the furthest left, but extreme in principle
Mhm.
left. I consider it fear mongering. Well, I think that's
I
my.
see what
These
you're
are.
saying, though.
This is my opinion. You know what I mean? And like on the left, like they hate monger. I mean on the right, but on the left, the extremity of the left, they would legislate what you think.
Well, the issue with like saying like kill, people who are like fascists, like where does that end? Does that mean like kill people who voted for Trump too, or like
Right.
the, what
Like
is
they're like Emily was saying, they're really violent outside. They can't get away with it here, but outside of American soil, I mean, like if they're responsible for bombing a building with fascists and innocents get killed, they just bomb the building. I'm not saying that's what they did, but I'm saying that that's
kinda
their
hardcore.
they're like that. Like they're not playing.
you mean like this is like in Europe or?
Yeah, Eastern Bloc Europe, where you find, you can find hardcore, like, if you're from Eastern Bloc Europe and you're Muslim, you might as well be fascist, right? According to Antifa.
They
You
feel
might as
that
well
way
be
about. They feel that way about Muslims.
well, yeah, because the Muslim religion often comes off as oppressive,
Now, do they
especially
differentiate
towards
between
women and towards non-Muslims.
right? But do they differentiate between like Saudi, like the version that's like practiced in Saudi Arabia, than the version where women are actually presidents of their country, or like do they differentiate between different Muslim
Oh,
iterations?
I don't know. I just know that even if they did, right, like they couldn't get away with that in Saudi. They can
Right.
certainly get away with that type of extremism in Serbia.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these are harsh, violent countries anyway. You know, when you're talking about Eastern European bloc, like you're already talking about high crime of all kinds, like high crime.
Just this is going to end again in just over 3 minutes.
But you
Can we
made
do
a good
Google
point.
Meet?
Yeah, do you want to?
I mean, I think with Cynthia, if you want to go do a Google Meet, you can. I think when this one ends, I'm going to bow out because I'm exhausted.
Oh
Okay.
no. Okay.
But you did
Yeah.
make a good point, Cynthia.
What was the point? What did I say?
Yeah, what was
when you were saying that, you know, if it incites people to
Uh-huh.
while you don't do anything, it incites people to do something that is violent or what have you.
Uh-huh.
You know, it gives me perspective, because one of the things that I argue, right, I don't hold people accountable for what they think or who they are. I actually hold people accountable for what they do. This is something that this is me though. So that point you made gives me perspective, because I
Mhm.
usually hold people accountable for what you do. Like if you
Mhm.
if you are a sociopath, right, or a
Mhm.
psychopath, but you
Mhm.
never kill anyone, should I try you and condemn you for murder?
Well, no, that's completely different.
No, because you didn't murder anyone.
Yeah, if you try, I mean, I guess it depends on the circumstances. There was a case when that teenage girl was tried for murdering her friend because she convinced him to kill himself.
Mm.
I think it's the first time that ever happened, but
Yeah, I know the case.
yeah, I don't
Or,
think being
or Charlie
psychopath-
Manson. Charlie,
Right, Charlie Manson.
Manson.
But
Yeah,
Charlie
so
Manson
Charlie Manson,
was a murderer.
Yeah, his cult is like a murderous cult.
Yeah, he
Right.
was actually a murderer. He
Yeah.
didn't pull a trigger per se, but
Right. He told
certainly
people to commit.
Yeah.
He was like conspiracy to murder.
But I think like any crimes that, let's say Trump is like, oh, we should kill these people, we should kill that people, which he has said, maybe not as directly, but if things do happen and his loyalists do go out and kill people, I think he should be
He should be held accountable.
absolutely.